Former President Donald Trump this morning in court in Manhattan, answering to charges brought by New York Attorney General Letitia James that he illegally overvalued his assets. This is where we begin our conversation now with Marc Short, former Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence. Marc, it's great to have you. Thanks for coming to meet us at the Capitol today. We're still open for business, apparently. We want to talk to you about shutdown politics, but first, this appearance today by Donald Trump, first showing up, made news. This is a case that will be decided by a judge who he just showed up and disparaged repeatedly, called him a disgrace. Is that a legal strategy?
Oh, I think it's more of a political strategy. I think the reality is that he faces a lot of legal liability, but he's smart enough to know that this helps him politically. I think for all of the various challenges he has out there, this is the weakest case that had been brought in New York. And I think for all of your viewers, they know as well that perhaps he did overvalue his assets. But the reality is anybody who's going to loan him money would have done their own valuation on that before they loaned him money. And he paid back those loans. And so I think for the average American, it's like, this doesn't seem right that this prosecution or this civil trial is moving forward. So I think he knows it helps him politically.
One of the things they said is that he overvalued his assets because he wanted to rank higher on the Forbes billionaires list. Yeah. You spent a lot of time with this individual. Is that track of a personality trait?
I wouldn't fight that. I mean, I think that there could be, but I don't, again, I think to the average American, they would say, so what? Why are you bringing a civil trial on that? And so I think that perhaps it's true, but I think politically he knows that showing up in that court and drawing all the attention back from himself on this, and also casts a pall on the other legal challenge he has. Because if he can paint them as all politically charged, then it helps to discredit some of the others that think that are more serious.
Donald Trump urged Republican lawmakers to vote to shut down the government if they didn't get everything they wanted, was, I believe, how he termed it. The government did not shut down. Kevin McCarthy, in the words of John Cornyn, pulled a rabbit out of a hat on Saturday. Is he stronger now than he was before this happened, or weaker in your view as Matt Gaetz tries to oust the speaker?
There's a lot to Tom. I think the reality is that he probably is stronger. He needed a call to question whether or not there would be a motion to vacate and how that would go forward. He couldn't continue to be held hostage. But as you said, the president said, until you get everything. Well, the challenge was that not everyone wanted the same thing. Let's keep in mind the president's request was that they defund the DOJ investigations into him. There were other members who wanted to stop Ukraine funding.
Those funds are permanently appropriated.
Right. And there were others who wanted to defund Ukraine. There were others that had other issues that they wanted to fight on, like border security. And the greatest irony is that Kevin had negotiated pretty much an 8% domestic cut, which I think is pretty significant to keep the government open a couple weeks ago. And yet the same people who undercut that are now left with more funding. Yet they crusade as fiscal conservatives. The deal they end up with is spending more money. And the whole strategy that Matt Gaetz has of a motion to vacate, he criticizes Kevin to say, you partnered with Democrats to get this done. His whole strategy to replace Kevin relies upon Democrat votes.
Right, or Democrat not votes to keep him there. But also at the end of the day, whether or not it's a continuing resolution or whether it's 12 appropriation bills, the president is a Democrat. The Senate is run by Democrats. These House Republicans will have to come to the table with Democrats to simply fund the government, period.
That's right. And I think that there is probably some unity that can be had on border security. I think even Democrats know that's a vulnerability for them politically, and so that's probably the sweet spot where you could get additional border security in exchange for cuts elsewhere, and that's probably the best deal that Republicans can get. But in order to negotiate, Kevin needs to pass something in the House. If he can't get anything out of the House, then his hand is incredibly weakened in any sort of negotiation.
So did we simply prolong a shutdown to November 17th?
I think we did, Tom.
We did.
I think the reality is that we're going to go replay this again in about 6 weeks.
Wow, replay this all again. So what gets done until November 17th? Very quickly, of 60 seconds.
I think very little gets done because I think you'll probably have a motion to vacate, and at that point, I'm assuming that candidly fails because I think you have enough Democrats who simply vote present. Need a majority of those who are there. And so that'll probably then lead to changes in the rules that lift the motion from 1 vote to 10 to require something to move forward. So I think you have process votes and probably not any appropriations bill passed.
All right, sounds like November 17th, November 18th, we'll be back at this balcony. Marc Short, we hope you join us then as well.
Absolutely.
Our thanks to Marc Short, former Chief of Staff to Vice President Mike Pence.